Hello, everyone. Tonight, I want to talk about something that's been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. Something unseen, yet undeniably present. You see, some places, they just cling to echoes of the past. And sometimes, those echoes reach out and touch you. I'm not talking about creaky floorboards or shadows in the dark, though there have been plenty of those. I'm talking about experiences that redefine your understanding of reality. Moments that leave you wondering, what else is out there? I've learned to listen, to feel, to observe the subtle shifts in the air, the whispers in the silence. And believe me, there's a lot more silence than most people realize. My journey with the paranormal has taken me to some incredible places. From historic battlefields to ancient plantations, and even to a renovated old church. Each location held its own secrets, its own resident spirits, each encounter adding another layer to my understanding of this thin veil between worlds. And tonight, I'm going to share some of those experiences with you. Starting with the place I thought would be anything but haunted. For our first wedding anniversary, my husband and I decided on a quiet getaway to Gettysburg. This was around the time of the 150th anniversary of the battle, so the town was buzzing with history. Now you might think I'd seek out a haunted bed and breakfast given my interests. But no. For our anniversary, I specifically went out of my way to find a place that had no paranormal accounts whatsoever. I really didn't need a spirit creeping around our romantic getaway. The B&B itself was beautiful, tucked away a few miles down back roads outside the main town. It was an old building, standing since the time of the Civil War. But it had no creepy vibe about it at all. The owners had ingeniously converted the old stables into 4 amazing bedrooms, and one of them was ours. We had this lovely top floor room with a fireplace that, even though it was far too hot to use, still made the room feel incredibly homely. Our first night there, after a long day exploring the main town, we were both exhausted. My husband fell asleep almost instantly, but I stayed up for a little while, reading. I had my bedside lamp on, trying not to disturb him. That's when I saw it. Out of the corner of my eye, I thought I saw a male figure pacing back and forth at the foot of our bed. My first thought was, oh, it's just a trick of the light, maybe the curtain's moving. But then I remembered. There was a couch pressed right up against the window on that side of the room. It couldn't have been curtains. Yet I didn't feel threatened at all, so I just shrugged it off as my tired mind playing tricks. The next morning, I told my husband, but I made sure to emphasize that I was reading in the semi-dark. So it was probably nothing. He, being the skeptic that he is, just nodded. The next night, after spending the day wandering the battlefield, we were back in bed again. I was jotting down some ideas for my book, then turned off the light and rolled over to cuddle with my husband. And that's when it happened. I felt someone climb into bed right behind me and lay their arm on my side. My eyes snapped open. I was already cuddling with my husband. So, who was behind me? This was different. This was a tangible presence, and yet, I still felt more comforted than anything else. It sounds strange, I know, but having experienced many ghosts, spirits, angels, whatever you want to call them, I was nowhere near frightened by the spirit in our bed. Being a light sleeper, I also felt it when the cuddling stopped and the presence left. The morning we were supposed to check out, my husband and I were just laying in bed, talking. I started to drift off again, half asleep, when suddenly I heard it. Hey! It was so loud, it felt like it reverberated inside my head. I sat straight up, looked at my husband, and said, "You didn't have to scream in my ear to get my attention." He just looked at me with this utterly confused expression and said, "That wasn't me." My husband is a skeptic. He really is, only because he hasn't seen anything himself, but he believes me. It makes sense if you know him. We went downstairs for breakfast, and that's when I decided to ask the owners. I casually inquired if anyone had ever experienced anything unusual in their bed and breakfast. Oh, the look on their faces. They immediately started recounting stories. People had seen horses, heard gunshots, seen soldiers. And then the owner started describing my 3 stories exactly as they happened before I'd even told her a thing. I never tell my experiences to innkeepers until they recount occurrences themselves, so this was mind-blowing. I told her to add my 3 experiences to the list, just to back up what other guests had reported, and that's when she dropped the bombshell. She told us the house had been an old field hospital. She even took us outside and showed us a spot across the road where a small battle had taken place. Oh, sure, I thought. Why didn't I research better? Despite the unexpected paranormal activity, I would absolutely go back to that B&B. Partially because of the spirits, I admit, but mostly because of the history and the truly amazing people who run it. It was a powerful reminder that history isn't just in books. Sometimes it walks among us, right in your bedroom. Speaking of powerful places, there's another location that had a profound impact on me, especially early in my life. It was when I was much younger, about 15 years old, that I first visited the Myrtles Plantation. I had read about it in the Ghost Diaries books, which were actually what inspired me to go. Those books, by the way, are supposedly true and available on Kindle and Nook. Now, most people might not believe this, but the Myrtles can actually be very dangerous. I know that now. My first encounter there happened the moment we pulled up the drive. I immediately felt this intense discomfort, a timidness I couldn't shake. As my family and I walked up to the door, something heavy seemed to fall on my chest, making it hard to even step inside. It was like an unseen force was pressing down on me. But once inside, it was just like the book described. The grand staircase, the sprawling back veranda. We even stayed in the peach room. It was just my cousins, my aunt, and me, so we easily fit into the one bed. We stayed for about a week or 2, and I loved every minute of it. Here I was, at one of the most paranormal houses ever, ready to record data, take pictures, and much more. I was incredibly sensitive to spirits even then. My first real personal encounter was with Chloe, the young slave mistress to one of the house's old owners. She appeared to me, but not to my relatives, which I thought was amazing. I even managed to get an EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, of her saying,
"Hello and nice to meet you."
It was a bit fuzzy, but I definitely heard it. I asked her if I could take some pictures, and she let me. I still have those photos to this day. The next spirit I encountered was the Stairwell Spirit. I've forgotten his name over the years, but I'll never forget his face. He seemed quite pleased that I was so interested in him and his history. He even stood next to me for a picture. I felt him there, and later, I saw him in the photos. I also met some little girl spirits there, and we talked and played. They seemed to really enjoy my company, even though I got some weird looks from other tenants at the time. I didn't mind. We spent a long time talking and sitting on the back veranda. One afternoon, we saw an apparition sitting in one of the chairs. We asked if we could join it, and it seemed to agree. We sat there talking, but my mind kept drifting to the other rocking chair, wondering about the spirit that was sitting there. I'm always prepared, so I had my pad, pencil, EVP recorder, and camera with me. I asked if it was okay to ask some questions, and it agreed. I got a few responses, and I even sketched the figure I saw as best as I could. Then I asked if we could take some pictures, but it just disappeared. I was a bit disappointed, but my sketch was pretty good. But the most intense experience at the Myrtles happened one night in the Peach Room. My family had a specific sleeping arrangement. I was in the middle. My little cousin was on one side, and my other cousin, who was a month older, and my aunt were on the other side. Around 2:45 a.m., I woke up to something truly weird. My cousin's blanket kept moving. We are all soundless sleepers. We don't move much in our sleep, but his blanket was tucking and untucking him, whether it was him or not. It genuinely scared me. I grabbed my phone and started recording. The blanket continued to tuck and untuck. I saw a shadow leave the room. I fell asleep around 2:56 a.m., but my phone was still recording, and it caught more than I wanted to see. It recorded more shadows, the blanket activity, and even the bathroom light turning on and off by itself. I was terrified, but also incredibly intrigued. I kept taking more videos, and more activity would occur. At one point, I even saw a white mist engulf our entire bedroom. It didn't know I was awake because I had my eyes closed just enough to look like I was sleeping. The fog moved over all of us, first my cousins, then my aunt, and then me. I heard my name called several times throughout the night, and only twice was it my little cousin who had to pee and wanted me to stay awake with her. But the last day scared me the most. I was helping pack the car when I heard something like scratching wood or something being written on. When I was about to pack my investigation supplies, I saw it. On my notepad, written in really old handwritten cursive, were the initials MP. I took those initials to mean Myrtles Plantation. That place left its mark on me, quite literally. If you don't believe my story, I encourage you to find some of my old pictures on Google Images. I understand many people are skeptical, but as a reminder, any negative comments will be ignored. The Myrtles solidified my belief in the raw, sometimes dangerous power of the unseen. After experiences like the Myrtles, I embraced my sensitivity. It wasn't long before I was actively participating in paranormal investigations. So, when my friends planned my bachelorette party, they knew just the kind of fun I'd appreciate. A private ghost hunt. I was scared and excited all at the same time. I've seen spirits my whole life, but these structured hunts were a different experience. We went to an old church in Pennsylvania that was undergoing renovations. We started by walking through the graveyard, and right away, I kept seeing figures following us around. But every time I looked directly at them, they would vanish. It was a subtle game of hide and seek. We then entered the church. The main floor was uneventful. We investigated, but nothing happened, so we moved to the second floor. The moment I stepped onto the second floor, I got this uncontrollable feeling that I needed to leave that area and go back downstairs. It was an overwhelming urge. Not wanting to scare the other two girls with me, I quickly fabricated an excuse, saying I was feeling vertigo due to a slant in the building and needed to go down. One of the girls immediately followed me, and once we were downstairs, she turned to me and asked, "You felt it too, didn't you?" I said yes. We waited downstairs with one of the investigators for the other two still upstairs. Then we all headed to the basement. And that's where we had the most intense experiences of the night. First, two people went into a hallway in the back, facing the door to the boiler room. My sister was suddenly rushed by an entity. I heard her gasp, and then she rushed back into the main room, clearly startled. Two of us, including me, were sitting on a bench next to an off AC unit. It was fall, so we didn't need heat or AC. My sister was sitting on the floor. We were trying to contact a little girl spirit using a flashlight that we'd placed in the kitchen area of the basement. As I was talking, we started hearing knocks on a door to one of the side rooms. One of the investigators went into that room, asked a couple of questions, but got no responses. I continued to talk, and then we heard knocks on the next room, closer to the kitchen. The same investigator went in. Again, nothing. So I started asking questions again, and this time, the flashlight started going off in response. The second investigator mentioned that he felt the girl loved Itsy Bitsy Spider, so I started singing the song. And in response, the light would go on for words being said and off when there was a pause in the song. It was incredible, a real-time interaction. After we finished singing, we heard a loud bang on the bench on the other side of the AC unit. It was so sudden and forceful that it caused my friend to literally land in my lap, which made us laugh in surprise. But then we noticed that one of the cameras was knocked over. While one might try to explain it away, it was a basement with no drafts. And the bench wasn't even a real bench. It was a ledge holding the AC unit, which was off. There really was no natural explanation. After a few more hours of only getting answers from the little girl, we decided to call it a night and headed to our hotel. Nothing strange happened there. We were far too tired anyway. But the next night, back in the comfort of my own bed, I heard it, my name being called. I'm a very light sleeper, so I opened my eyes and looked towards the foot of my bed. And there she was, a little girl, sitting on my bed. She was looking right at me, and then she asked, in a soft voice,
"Can I be your daughter?"
A chill went down my spine, unlike any I'd felt before. This wasn't a mischievous spirit. This was a plea. But my fear immediately kicked in. I didn't want to be mean, but I have this deep-seated fear that if I ever had a child, I didn't want it to be possessed by a spirit. So, I promptly, but gently, said, "No, I'm sorry, but you need to move on. You are no longer alive." It broke my heart a little to say it, but I felt I had to be firm. I saw the little girl a few more times after that, wandering the hall outside my room and heading to the spare bathroom. But after about a month, I never saw her again. She seemed to have finally moved on. So, there you have it. 3 distinct encounters, each unforgettable, each shaping my understanding of the world around us. From the comforting presence of a Civil War soldier to the intense, sometimes unsettling energies of a historic plantation, to the very personal plea of a lost child in my own home. These aren't just stories I've heard. These are experiences I've lived. They remind me that history isn't just in the past. It's alive, swirling around us, sometimes reaching out to touch, to comfort, to simply say, hello, and sometimes to ask for a place to belong. The veil between worlds is thinner than you think. And if you listen closely enough, you might just hear it too. If you found these stories intriguing, please give this video a like and consider subscribing for more. I'd love to hear your thoughts and any experiences you might have had in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious and keep an open mind. You never know what might be waiting in the shadows.